when a poor buck caused a dramatic accident a couple of weeks ago. I had to face the tough news. My passport was declared a total loss. Forced back into the car market, I carried a few new priorities in mind, but also a deep love for my now former vehicle. If you watched my review on it, you'd understand why. In this episode, I'll take you through my first impressions and the experience of the Honda Ridgeline, what sold me on it, and what I don't particularly like about it. Stay tuned. As I weighed my options, I briefly imagined myself in a new Pilot TrailSport. I loved its rugged new look, 360-degree camera, and reasonable price tag. It felt like the Passport's bigger, more mature sibling, just without the VTEC no more, thanks to the redesign. But since my wife already drives an even more versatile family hauler, the Honda Odyssey with way more cargo space, I decided not to duplicate its mission with another 3-row SUV. Getting another Passport wasn't a bad idea either. If you watched my previous episode on it, you'd know I had every reason to keep it, and I would have if life didn't have other plans. But ever since we built our house in 2022, my wife and I have always had something to move in, move out. Then those long fishing poles in the leather interior, muddy camping gear, wet skis, kids' bikes, and electric scooters. You see where I'm going with this, right? The Ridgeline. Now, before someone says, it's not a real truck, it can't do this and that, it doesn't drive like a real truck. Well, maybe not everyone needs a real truck. I just needed my Passport back. It won my heart, but the Ridgeline now won my mind. The similar front end, tougher profile, the all-wheel drive, which, let's be honest, adds confidence, even if you don't need it all the time. The 5-foot bed that swallows everything I throw at it, the same comfy driver's seat, and the commanding view out of it. Plus, the interior, it is tops in its class in terms of practicality and comfort, and even more practical than what I had before, which I'll get into shortly. But in just 2 words, getting a Ridgeline was an absolute home run. It's a relentlessly pragmatic machine I didn't even know I needed. I even picked the same color I had before. The Sonic Gray Pearl paint held up great in different weather conditions, looked great during the terrible pollen season we have in Virginia, and even when it wasn't washed for weeks. However, speaking of the trim level, as some might be able to tell already, I was able to pick the top-shelf Black Edition this time. Not because it looks far more macho than just a regular RTL, thanks to that black school of design, or even more so than my base Passport EXL, but mostly because of its rich interior content. I'm not going to do a full walkthrough of all the Black Edition features since it deserves a separate episode, but in a few words, I love those black seats with red stitching, red ambient lights, the redesigned heated steering wheel that turns on automatically during cold winter days through remote engine start, heated second-row seats for the kids who no longer need boosters, ventilated front seats for hot summer days, a much more powerful and crisp audio system, and power-folding auto-dimming side mirrors. Oh boy, I always wanted to have those. Wish it also had a 360 camera for more precise handling and parking. Even though at first glance the cockpit of the Passport looks nearly identical to the Ridgeline, Honda's latest truck comes with a few nice additions. A careful observer would notice that the screen is now 9 inches, has wireless smartphone connection, and features a little rest for your hand while you scroll through the apps. It also comes with Honda's latest built-in navigation system, which will be useful on our trips to the mountains where phone service is generally poor. Additionally, the center console received an updated wireless charger now positioned the right way, not sideways like I used to have. And it works seamlessly, unlike in my Passport. Another compliment goes to the new massive armrest and its storage capacity. There is so much space. I also love the new instrument cluster display. Not only does it look more modern than the one on my Passport, but it also features navigation directions from Apple Maps and Waze, a convenient way to stay updated with fewer distractions to the main display. Compared to the Passport, there is an identical amount of legroom in the front, 40.9 inches, but a bit less space for rear passengers, 36.7 inches versus 39.6 inches, but it's negligible to me. What sold me on this truck's rear is its lift-up rear seat capability with underseat storage. It's perfect for our dogs and keeps me less worried about scratches on the leather surface. Unfortunately, loading large items into the back may be difficult since the rear doors don't open wide. Speaking of our pets, when it gets warm outside or when we travel, I can see myself using the underfloor trunk as a sink to wash our dogs. With 7.3 cubic feet of space, it's perfectly sized for the task. Plus, it has a drain plug for easy hosing off and a lock to secure any valuables. The Ridgeline's clever thinking extends to its tailgate, which can open downward or swing out horizontally. The bed is made of fiberglass reinforced composite, meaning there's no need for a bed liner because the cargo surface is basically a bed liner already. Finally, the Ridgeline is capable of hauling almost 1,600 pounds of payload and towing up to 5,000 pounds, more than enough for my current needs. Before talking about the Ridgeline's driving talents, I'd like to mention a few shortcomings where it didn't meet my expectations. It might be nitpicking, but it's worth mentioning. I was surprised that at this price point, it does not feature a speed limit sign reader, LED high beams, rain-sensing windshield wipers, or even such a minor thing as a glove box compartment opening stopper, which my Passport had. These things aren't deal breakers, but they just scream cost cutting. To me, the biggest miss though is the lack of a tailgate stopper, something I'd consider a safety feature, especially with little kids in the family who like to roam around. Finally, I also wish it had a slightly higher bumper for better clearance, as it would have added to its practicality. When choosing my next ride, I had my heart set on the same 280 horsepower, 3.5-liter V6 from my Passport, hooked up to a 9-speed automatic. And like I said before, I wanted all-wheel drive this time, which luckily comes standard on the Ridgeline. Honda's torque vectoring rear differential, able to send 70% of torque to either rear wheel, is a real game changer for handling. Plus, when you get inside, the long, flat hood, ideal seating position, huge comfortable armrest, and great visibility all around give that same commanding feel and confidence I had in my Passport, just now in a more versatile package. On the road, the Ridgeline prioritizes comfort with a composed, pleasant crossover-like ride while still offering the utility of a truck. I haven't pushed the Ridgeline hard yet, no winding roads or 0 to 60 runs during the break-in period, but power delivery feels familiar, nearly identical to my old Passport. Car and driver's numbers back it up. 6 seconds to 60 versus 5.9 in the Passport. Expectedly, you do feel the extra weight and length in the back, especially in corners and over bumps. The Firestone tires add some road noise, but also grip well. Body lean is minimal, and thanks to its coil-sprung independent rear suspension, it rides smoother than traditional body-on-frame trucks with solid axles. The added weight, longer wheelbase, slightly lower ground clearance, and cushier tires make it even softer than my Passport, delivering a more composed, settled ride that adds to the confidence behind the wheel. The steering, precise and nicely weighted. It's too early to make a solid judgment on gas mileage, but averaging 19.6 miles per gallon during the break-in period isn't too bad. That said, I don't expect it to match the 23.5 miles per gallon I used to get in my lighter front-wheel drive Passport. At the end of the day, a truck needs to fit your lifestyle, and my Ridgeline does just that. It may not scream rugged, but it's far more livable than most pickups. It checks every vital box: daily errands, Costco runs, fishing, camping, and ski trips, just as my Passport did, but even better. In fact, I see it as a logical continuation that better fits my current family needs. I'll keep updating you on my experiences with the Ridgeline in future episodes, so stay tuned. Do you own one? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this.